Hello everyone and welcome. Thank you for joining our Certified Food Scientist Hangout. We're really happy that you're here with us today. We think it's going to be a really great event and we're going to go over a lot of great information about the Certified Food Scientist program. My name is Brandon Davis and I'm the Certification Manager for IFT, and I've been managing the program for about 2 years now, since right before we went live. Really happy with the questions that we've gotten from the viewers like yourselves, and that's going to be the bulk of today's program. We're going to go through a lot of the great questions that everybody's had a chance to ask. So real quickly, like I said, we got a lot of questions in. So we're going to go through those as much as we can. If you didn't have a chance to ask any questions or thought of some more questions, you will have an opportunity to do so if you click on the Q&A app on the upper right-hand portion of your screen. And feel free to submit any questions, and if we have time, we will try to address as many as we can. If not, if we don't get to your question, we'll follow up with you directly shortly after this Hangout. So thanks again, and I wanted to just hand it off to our first speaker today, who's a certified food scientist, and that is Colin Dennis, who is the IFT president-elect. So Colin, welcome, and if you could quickly introduce yourself.
Okay, thanks Brandon, and hi everyone. Certainly my pleasure as president-elect of IFT to welcome everybody to this hangout on CFS. Many thanks to Brandon and Amanda for setting up the forum, but special thanks to the rest of my panel colleagues for sharing their time and their information, experiences, and indeed I'm sure you'll gather passion for CFS. A few years ago I had the pleasure of serving on the board of IFT when this credential concept was first proposed, and I'm absolutely delighted to see the progress that we've made over the last just few years. My personal background is very much in working for an industrially focused organization in the UK called Camden BRI. We worked at the interface between academia and industry, largely in technology and knowledge transfer. And as you will hear later, I'm a great advocate for continuing learning, education, and indeed professional development. So I'll now pass on to Yvette to introduce herself.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Yvette Bassa. I'm Vice President of Research Development and Quality for Mondelez International, our North America region. I am also Vice Chair of the certification, the International Food Science Certification Commission, and I'm very happy to be here joining you in this hangout. Hopefully we'll be able to answer some of your questions and encourage a lot of you to get your certification after this.
And welcome to all of our participants today. I am really pleased to have an opportunity to share some information with you on the background of the CFS and answer some of the questions that you all submitted in your pre-meeting registration. The CFS has been very well received over the last 18 months since its launch, and we have over 200 food science organizations or food organizations that employ 2 or more food credential holders within their organizations. And these represent large multinational corporations like General Mills and Cargill, as you see on the screen, as well as government agencies and universities around the world. We currently have 1,586 certified food scientists in 55 countries. Brandon is showing some slides on the screen right now, and there are 2 testimonials, one from Linda Peruca, who's also a member of the Mondelez team, and there's also a testimonial from Dr. Guy Crosby, who you may know as a well-known food scientist, author, and professor. And as you'll see, both of these testimonials really speak to the value that the CFS can provide for employers and for food scientists For teams, it's a wonderful opportunity for retention and recruitment and professional development and continued learning, as Colin has said earlier. And from Guy's perspective, as an individual food scientist, and really validating the knowledge and skills that he has obtained through his years of service to the food industry. An important notion that's supported by the numbers is the common language that the certified food scientist creates. It allows beyond borders for a way for food scientists to demonstrate their applied knowledge and skills. So if you're a food scientist working at Mondelez in New Jersey, or you're a food scientist working in a lab in Beijing, food science is a common language, and the certified food scientist exam tests the skills that both of those scientists would use. And it's also a way for food scientists to demonstrate their commitment to lifelong learning. After university or obtaining your degree, oftentimes there are ways for professionals to demonstrate that they have gained additional on-the-job experience. There are certifications for soil scientists, there's certifications for engineers, and with the CFS there's now a certification for food scientists. We've also found and gotten feedback from our certified food scientists that it's relevant for new professionals as well as professionals who have been in the industry for 15 or more years. For the new professional, it is a way very immediately after graduating to take that next professional development step. And for seasoned professionals who may be considering a career change or are looking to move up their technical ladder within their organization, it's a way to demonstrate their knowledge and value. The next slide that you'll see just shows the average year's experience of certified food scientists, and you'll see that there's quite a few certified food scientists in that 16-plus year range, and many of those are the first certified food scientists from over the last year or so. As the program has matured over the last year, we've seen a significant amount of new applicants in the other ranges that you see on the screen, in particular the 2 to 6 years and 7 to 11-year range. And we're really excited to see industry and the academic community embrace this certification as a way to encourage employees and have their professional development validated. You'll also see on the screen right now the breakdown of the certified food scientists and the sectors in which they work. A majority of them, not surprisingly, are from scientific and technical departments, but there are also folks in technical sales and marketing, as well as management and government and consultants. And no matter what an individual's role, if they have a science background and they are applying those knowledge and skills, this could be something of value to all of them. And the next slide shows the breakdown of the certified food scientist exam. Many of you have asked what's on the certified food scientist exam, and the percentages that you see on the screen right now show the knowledge that is tested on the exam. Product development is significant, 1/3 of the exam, followed by food chemistry and analysis, and then the other subject areas that you see. On our website, we have a complete content breakdown where you will be able to see the exact topics that are covered in each of these areas. It was very important to our volunteer group that is working with us on this and created the exam to be very transparent in terms of the topics and the specific areas so that everyone could feel that they are prepared when they're taking the certified food scientist exam. So in terms of what the CFS actually is, it is your foundational food science knowledge combined with on-the-job experience, plus an exam, and then an individual can obtain the CFS. One important note is that individuals can qualify for the certified food scientist exam with a variety of educational backgrounds. Certainly those who have food science degrees will be able to take the exam with fewer years of on-the-job experience, but there are also eligibility pathways for individuals with basic science degrees. There have been some questions in terms of what work experience as, and work experience is typically full-time work experience. However, postdoctoral work and graduate assistantships do count at a 50% rate. Another question that we had was about preparatory materials. And as I had mentioned earlier, in addition to the extensive content outline that is on our website, there's also a candidate handbook where you can find sample questions, information about testing fees, information about testing centers, and we do offer the CFS exam in 5,000 different testing centers around the world. You can also find preparatory resources, which include on books and websites that will be helpful, as well as the Certified Food Scientist Preparatory course that is held in several locations around the world. And that's what the next slide is.
So you'll see that the next offering
is in California, in Anaheim, in the United States. And there are also several opportunities to take the CFS exam in Canada. And later on in the year, there will be other global locations as well. So just as a reminder, the CFS prep course is not required. It is not compulsory. It is meant to be an optional preparatory course for those who find it necessary to brush up on some of the skills. But we have a significant amount of individuals who have successfully passed the CFS exam by taking some resources, embarking on a self-study program, working with some colleagues to study together for the exam, and they have successfully passed the exam without taking that course. So just as a reminder, some of you had some questions about the next opportunity to take the CFS exam, and that will be in February of 2015 and May of 2015. And on the ift.org/certification website, you can look at the various testing centers to be able to see if the exam is offered at a location near you.
Great. Thank you, Amanda, for that overview of the CFS program. I think that's very helpful for a lot of people, especially if you're just learning about the program for the first time. What I wanted to do now is go into some of the questions that a lot of you have asked and submitted. Like I said, there's a lot of great questions, and it's going to cover a lot of different parts about the program. And before I do, I wanted to also introduce a couple of more certified food scientists that recently took the exam and went through the process themselves to become certified. So I think that their perspective will be very helpful, especially when they talk about how they went about preparing for the exam. So I'll first start with Erica, if you could introduce yourself real quickly.
Sure. Hi, I'm Erica Story. I'm a senior technologist at Smucker's, and I've worked here for about 3 years in R&D. And prior to that, I was in school at North Carolina State University, where I received my master's in food science. And I received my CFS about a year ago in December. And I'm just really excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Brandon. I'm hoping to answer any questions you guys have about the Certified Food Scientist program.
Great. Welcome.
Thanks.
And then next we have Julie, if you could real quickly introduce yourself as well.
Sure. Hello. Hi, my name is Julie Branch, and I was a recipient in June of my CFS, and I'm currently in Global International, and I have over 18 years experience in the food industry across a vast array of different backgrounds, from product development, packaging development, manufacturing, and I'm going to move into a regulatory position soon. So I'm just really excited to be here and hopefully can answer any questions anybody has.
Great. Well, welcome everybody again. And let's just dive right into it, since we got a lot of questions and we want to cover as many as possible. And so the first one, actually, I'm going to ask all the certified food scientists that we have here. And this was asked by a number of people participating today. And basically, what benefits have each of you personally seen since getting your certification? Maybe we can start with Colin and just work our way across the panel.
Okay, thanks, Brandon. Yeah, I mean, just 3 comments on this one. I'm someone that actually didn't graduate in food science, so actually having a credential now that says I'm a certified food scientist, I believe gives me recognition and standing in the profession. And I think talking to colleagues in industry in particular, the fact that number of certified food scientists now does demonstrate that our profession is being recognized. And having CFS after your name often creates a good discussion point with friends and family, so that we now have the sort of recognition that Amanda was describing of other professions, that food science is now recognized as a profession. So I'll hand further on to Yvette, maybe, to give her perspective.
Thanks, Colin. I have been in industry for quite some time, 25 plus years, and really the certification, what it's done for me, it's validated my accomplishments and achievements professionally. I think it has also given me an opportunity to solidify my leadership in the organization. Now I'm a role model now for my organization. And also externally, when I either represent the commission or I represent my company at industry events. I also have used the certification to communicate to others the importance of validating and recognizing the work that we do as food scientists. As Colin says, this gives us recognition as a profession. But I have also started to use it in our recruitment efforts as a way to really recognize people that are committed to our profession and to lifelong learning.
Right.
I'll turn it over to Julie.
Hi, so some of the benefits I've seen since obtaining my CFS credentials have been across a couple different areas. First, this was really a personal achievement I set out for myself. Back January 1st, making that New Year's resolution, I said I really wanted to improve my technical credibility, and just, it was really a personal self-gratification goal for my own career and own technical background. So that's just been one really great thing. It's also been a really good role model for my son. As you know, you're never stopping learning as you go through life. So he thought it was pretty exciting that I was studying for an exam. I've found a lot of benefit peer-to-peer networking across both internal and external, and have come across meeting lots of great new people just by doing this. As Yvette mentioned, new candidates that have come in. It's been a nice way to get to know individuals. And then the last piece is really, as I look to maintain my certification, to meet all the criteria for maintaining, it'll help me have a framework to really set up some new additional personal technical goals for myself, and also revalidate my commitment to my organization to really ground in food science knowledge to help face all those challenges we meet every day, as well as technical people development, since I'm a manager of many technical individuals.
Great.
So I'll pass it over to Erica.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so I've seen a lot of benefits as well. Who hasn't been in the industry as long, being fairly new in my career, it has also helped validate just the base knowledge that I have received in food science. So that's been a good benefit. And then also just being able to have this new network of peers that have the same certification that I know are there to reach out to network with at any point is also really nice. And then finally, just at my company, they've been a big proponent of the certification, and they've really made it a point to recognize everyone when they do get that certification at our annual meeting. So peer recognition has been nice as well.
Well, thank you for that. I think that insight was very helpful. Just somewhat related, I'm just going to ask a follow-up question for any of the panelists, but a few of you kind of touched on this, but I just wanted to see if anybody could elaborate. But since certifications are nothing new for most professions, it's new for food science. But how are any of you raising the visibility and importance of the actual certified food scientist credential within your respective organizations? Yvette, is there anything you can add to that?
Certainly. As a member of the commission, in addition to being a certified food scientist, I have had opportunity to talk in several forums about the program. Internally in my organization, we have several members of my staff that are actually now preparing to take the test. Obviously, we recognize Julie as she received her certification in June. I've also taken opportunity to talk about it in my New York, New Jersey section meetings. We've distributed pamphlets, and I am a member of the advisory board at the University of Massachusetts, and we've also discussed the certification at the meetings we've had there, and certainly shared some of the pamphlets and some of the information that we have available for people in those different forums.
Okay. Julie, is there anything you wanted to add for Mondelez at all?
Sure. So from a visibility standpoint, obviously it's been great to get the personal recognition, so thank you for that. It's just been a really nice kind of icebreaker, especially when we have new employees coming in that you know, we don't know each other, to have that kind of common connection. They were both CFS, so that's been a really nice thing. And then certainly mentoring and kind of coaching people that are going to be taking the test, and just connecting across the organization internally and externally. So really, that's where I've been focusing on some visibility.
Okay, perfect. And then Erica, is there anything that you want to say about raising the visibility at Smuckers?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned before, I mean, we do have quite a few people here who have been certified since it's been highly encouraged and recognized as a great program by Smuckers. But just through that recognition, then people know who is certified, and I've had people reach out to me knowing that I've gone through this experience to ask questions, and it's been nice just serving as a resource to my peers to help them, you know, get an idea of what to expect from the test, and to encourage them to take it.
Okay, very nice. Okay, we got a lot of questions about eligibility, and a lot of very specific questions for people's specific backgrounds, which, you know, we can't go into, and we'd be more than happy to follow up with individuals offline if they wanted to know a little bit more about their specific situations. But what I wanted to do is just maybe Amanda, if you could just real quickly just go over just the general eligibility requirements of the program. Just basically, what would that involve?
Sure. Well, as Brandon mentioned, we have a scale for eligibility, and the minimum requirement is a Bachelor's of Science degree, and that could be a Bachelor's of Science in Food Science, or a Bachelor's of Science in a related science like nutrition or like microbiology. For someone who has a PhD in food science, they would be eligible to sit for the exam, or a master's in food science. They would be able to sit for the exam with 2 years of work experience. And then there's the sliding scale based on your degree of between 2 and 6 years. So depending on the degree, you might be able to sit for the exam in as little as 2 years, or in as many as 6 years. And as Brandon had mentioned, we can certainly help if you email our certification commission. We can help you navigate that. Oftentimes we take a look at resumes so that we can help people navigate the eligibility pathways. And we have also developed a tool to help people determine if they may be eligible. So we encourage you to ask questions, and we can certainly help you answer those questions.
Great, thank you. As Amanda mentioned, that tool, if you're joining us live, if you click on the showcase link, there is a real quick tool that can help guide you through some of those eligibility requirements that she was mentioning. And Amanda, just along those lines, a few questions came in to see if you needed to be a member of IFT in order to sit for the exam. Can you touch on that?
Sure. Membership is not required to become a certified food scientist. We recognize that there are a lot of global food scientists out there, and we want to make sure that this certification is available for all people who are interested in obtaining it. And Brandon, I think maybe perhaps what we can do is just give individuals an overview of the process of becoming a CFS. Once they've looked at determining eligibility, and if you think that you're eligible for the CFS, the next step would be completing the online application. It's an application that's available on ift.org. It should take you about 15 minutes to complete, and the application requires that you can complete some basic questions about your background, your work experience, and your educational background. After that, and you pay for the application and submit the application, our commission reviews it, and assuming that the application is approved, you will receive an email within about 2 to 3 weeks with confirmation that your application has been approved, as well as instructions on how to schedule your exam. There will be a unique number that you're given, and a website link and a phone call that you, or a phone number that you can use. You can either schedule online or you can schedule via phone for the next testing window. And we do encourage people to schedule their exams early because space time is limited. Although there are 5,000 centers around the world, their space is limited, and we want to make sure that everyone can get a seat at the exam testing center of their choice. Once you sit for the exam, it usually takes about 3 to 4 weeks, depending on whether you sit at the beginning of a testing window or at the end of a testing window, for you to receive your results. And you'll receive those via email, and it'll be a note that says you have passed, or a note that said that you haven't passed. And there will also be instructions in that email on a recertification and the recertification requirements for continuing education. There will also be instructions, should you not be successful with the exam, on the next steps that you can take to be successful in the future.
Great, perfect. And then there was a few questions that we had about the actual cost for the step for completing the application. Yvette, can you just real quickly just talk about the cost for to sit for the exam?
Sure. The cost for the application and to sit for the exam for IFT members is $550, and for non-members is $750.
Okay, perfect. And what I wanted to do is, since we have a couple of people here that recently went through the process, is just learn a little bit more about that. Amanda had mentioned just real briefly, but about the overall process. But I just wanted to hear from Erica and Julie just about the actual application itself. We get questions about how long it takes to complete the application. Julie, can you just chime in on the application process? How long it took for you?
So the actual application process was pretty straightforward, and I just went to the website and found the link to it. And I had my academic information and my professional information with me in history, so that really helped to make it go smoother and faster. So I think once I was in the application, it was, as Amanda said, only about 15 minutes, so about a half-hour total for the whole process to get it finished. So it was pretty intuitive.
Okay. Was that about the same experience with you, Erica?
Yes, it was very simple to do, just going online, filling out the personal, professional, and work history. Honestly, it was so easy. I really don't remember much about the process other than I don't think it took more than 15 minutes. So
Okay,
very
perfect.
easy.
And then Erica, once you were approved, we got questions about how people can find a testing center near you. Once you got approved, how did you find out where you actually took the test?
So again, I went on to IFT, their website, and looked up one of the testing centers near my house. Like I had previously mentioned, there's over 5,000, I think, worldwide, so there's bound to be something close to you. For me, it was about 15 minutes from my house, and they had a lot of different testing windows as well. So there was opportunities to take it during the week or on weekends, so that was nice because I was able to take it on a Saturday morning and didn't have to interfere with my work week at all. So
Okay.
it's very easy.
Great. Julie, anything to add on that?
I just found it, again, real easy to find the testing choices. And in my area, there were several facilities to choose from, so I could really figure out logistically which one was the easiest one to get to and pick. And again, different days you could take it, so it was pretty easy to find a time slot.
Okay, great. And then Amanda, can you talk about what happens if you don't pass the exam? Can you retake it?
Yes, for someone who is not successful in passing the exam the first time, there is the opportunity to take the exam again. You can, what you'll have to do is you will have to fill out a retest form and send that in, and then our staff works with you to process the retest fee and give you another authorization to test, and then you'll have the opportunity to take the test again. And it is easy. The exam is offered 4 times a year, typically in February, May, August, and then November. So there are different times throughout the year depending on what works for your schedule.
Okay, perfect. So Erica and Julie, okay, so you went online, you submitted your application, you found your testing center, you took the test, thankfully you passed. Can you talk about just what happened after that? When did you find the results of your the exam that you took?
Sure.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I took the test actually this past May, at the end of May, and the results came quite quickly. It was by mid-June I actually knew, and even had an opportunity to get recognized at the convention in the summer. So it came very quickly.
Mm-hmm. I had the similar experience. I sat for the November one last year, and I remember I got the results right before Thanksgiving, so that was a nice Thanksgiving present. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so we got a lot of questions in about just any tips on preparing for the exam. So I think a lot of people want to know just what either of you did, anything that you can say that might help people who are thinking about taking the exam in the near future. I think anything, any sort of insight from somebody that's gone through the process would be very helpful. Why don't we start with Julie? If you could just talk about why don't we start? How much time did it take for you to prepare for the exam?
So it's hard to kind of quantify the total time to take it, but I'll talk a little bit about the approach I took to taking it. So, you know, having been out of school for a long time, there was kind of 2 areas I was interested in understanding, both the content of the exam and then the format of the exam. So first I'll talk about the content a little bit. In addition to the employee handbook, which Amanda referenced is online that you have access to, I decided right away to take the prep class because I just felt that it had been so long I wasn't really sure what to expect. And I found that extremely valuable to really understand the areas that the exam would be covering in a little more depth. I also really appreciated the practice exams. So to get used to answering questions on a computer and also the format of the questions and kind of how they're presented and some of the tactics to look at process of elimination for the to find the right answer. I also really appreciated the interaction with different peers at the course, both during the course and after, because it really created kind of a peer sharing network. And we had a chat room and also, shared contact information to, get information and kind of studying from a distance a little bit together. And again, the practice exams were extremely helpful. So once I understood those areas, then I would spend, I would say, about 4 hours of dedicated time on the weekend for about a 6-week period, just really focusing and kind of refreshing my memory to certain areas. And I leveraged a lot of the textbooks I had from school, as well as internally in my company, we have a quite nice technical library, so I leveraged that as well. And I know some of my peers did not have that, so they went to other universities and colleges and things, as well as online materials, just to access additional basic food science information to refresh their minds on the different topics. And then the second area I wanted to talk about is to prepare for this test was the format. I have not taken, I think in my whole life until this, an online test. I have taken, verbal exams, written essay exams, but never an online test. Since I have been out of school for quite some time, and doing a thesis defense was a very different experience. So it was really important for me to understand what to expect and how the questions were presented, what kind of tools and lack of tools you would have at the facility. And so I came up with a little bit of a strategy for myself. I like to write stuff down, so a nice way for me to be able to use the materials that were in the room, the limited materials, to help me have process of elimination, since I couldn't scratch out which ones it wasn't physically. So just I found a little tactic and a way to keep myself moving and pacing through the time allotment that was given for the exam. So those are just some of the different tactics I took.
Okay, perfect. And just a real quick point of clarification, what you said was great. You said online, but just to be clear, it's a computer-based exam, so it's still located at the Pearson VUE testing centers. But that's some really good points. And I just want to hand it over to Erica just to see just how your experience was preparing for the exam.
Sure. I also took the CFS prep course, which I found to be very helpful. The best thing I got from that was just kind of the overview of topics that would be on the exam, which is also on the website. So it's basically the same material to know what's on the test. But for me, I used that book later when I really started to study much harder as the test approached, to know which areas I needed to spend more time on. I really, about a month before the exam, started to spend an hour here and there, not every day, but about every day, to study the topics that I wanted to. And then I also, I know online there's options for materials that they recommend, but I found that a lot of my textbooks from school also had a lot of the material that I wanted to go over. So that's what I used to study.
Okay. Great. And just to clarify, Erica, so there's the list of recommended resources, but you found similar reading materials that you had, not necessarily that were on the list of recommended resources.
Correct, yes. They were textbooks from school. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. It gives people a few options so they don't have to feel that those are the only resources available for them. There's many of them. Many potential candidates may already have great resources in their own library, so good to know. The next question I'm gonna throw out there. Obviously, we can't go into too many details about the exam itself, but some people want to know, was the exam difficult? So let's hear from you, Julie. What do you think about that? Was it a difficult exam?
It's really hard to answer it because, you know, everyone's background's different. I mean, there were certain areas for me that I knew would be more challenging kind of going into it from my practice tests. But overall, I mean, it just varies by person and what your background is. So again, I just recommend prioritizing based on your experiences, the different areas. So if you need to brush up on a certain section of the topics, that you focus on that.
Great. Okay, and then Erica, same question.
Yeah, pretty much same answer. It really does, I think, depend on your experiences. So something that was hard for me is probably easy to somebody else and vice versa. So definitely I would say there were some challenging questions on the test, but there were also questions I knew immediately. So I think it just depends on what your background's been and knowing what areas you need to focus on and studying those areas, and you'll be fine.
Okay, great. And then let's talk about the actual questions themselves. I'm going to hand that over to Yvette. Who actually writes the questions on the CFS exam? Where do those come from?
As it has been mentioned several times, there are some very specific content areas or domains that are covered by the exams, and the questions really for each one of those are actually developed by a group of global subject matter experts. They have, again, the expertise in the particular area or domain that they are working on writing questions for. These group of people includes industry, academia, government officials. So it's the experts are groups of industry folks, they're academia, government officials, and consultants from all over the world. And the first thing that happens is they are actually first trained to write fair and unbiased questions. And once the questions are written, they go through a very rigorous peer review process to ensure that they're accurate and that, more importantly, they have global applicability, because, again, the test can be taken anywhere in the world to get your certification.
Okay, great. So it sounds like a well-rounded group covering all the different areas of the test, go through a pretty rigorous process to get the exam questions. So very, very good to know. So we talked a lot about the process of becoming a certified food scientist and taking the exam itself. I just want to switch into, because we had a few questions about recertification requirements. So what I wanted to do is ask Yvette just to touch on those. What after somebody becomes a certified food scientist, what are the requirements in order to recertify later on?
Yeah, like any other professional certification program, there are requirements to maintain your CFS. And the recertification cycle occurs every 5 years from the date you actually certify. There is an expectation that the certificant will complete about 75 contact hours over the 5-year period, which means that each one of those contact hours that we reference is 1 hour of instruction. And there are a lot of different ways for you to accomplish your 75 hours of instructions within 5 years. You can do online courses, you can do webinars, you can do college courses, you can go to conferences or seminars or workshops. Those are a few of the different ways that you can maintain your certification. And you can earn actually a significant portion of hours, of contact hours, from sessions if you go to sessions at major conferences. Like, for example, the IFT annual meeting would be one example of those.
Okay, great. So yeah, there are plenty of low or no cost options available. So there's quite a wide variety, as Yvette had talked about, for ways that people can get their recertification hours. A lot of free classes, free webinars, technical workshops from from companies. So there's even hours that can be allocated towards self-directed studies. So it's more than just attending specific workshops or classes. There's a lot of creative ways that don't cost a lot necessarily. And I just wanted to see, let me just see if, Colin, I don't know if you had anything to add to that at all?
Well, really just reinforce what Yvette has said, Brandon. I mean, I think the whole purpose of recertification is the fact, as we said earlier, CFS is about continuing learning, continual education, professional development. And we all know that science advances, technology, systems change, and it's important over a 5-year period that those people who are certified keep up to date with changes so that they're well placed and can demonstrate continual learning over that 5-year period.
Okay, very good. Okay, and then I also wanted to ask, we got some questions too about a potential candidate trying to make the case to their employer to get some support to take the CFS exam. I'll look to Yvette on this one. Are there any tips for somebody that wants to maybe get some support in their professional development plans from their employer or their supervisor?
Yeah, I think it's really important to start the conversation, obviously, with your supervisor, and specifically talk really about how the program and the continuing education that the program requires, as Colin was talking about, will help you as an individual put a plan together that would not only benefit you professionally, but obviously would benefit your organization and the role that you perform within that organization. Particularly if you have, for example, a job that requires some interaction with, as most jobs in our industry require, with suppliers or with government officials or with cross-functional teams within your organization, the certification program really will recognize your level of knowledge and your accomplishment in the field of food science, so you can use that as a way to maintain, again, your continued updating of your professional career and build it as part of your development plan, and how those would benefit, again, yourself as you progress through your organization, and the organization for yourself in the way that you deliver on your goals and commitments to it.
Okay. Looks like we're nearing the end. We just have time for basically a few more questions. And I'm going to ask this for Amanda. Some people want to know, what is the passing rate of the CFS exam?
Well, we get that question a lot, and what we can tell you is that the passing rate is very common with other certification programs of similar maturity. We work with our testing vendor to make sure that that's in line. I personally don't know what the passing rate is, but like I said, we are working with our psychometricians to make sure that it is in line with the other certification programs of the same level of maturity. What I can say is that we also get questions. The question of the follow-up to that is, what is the passing score? And we do have more information on that. The passing score, or the exam itself, is on a sliding scaled scoring system, and we work after every testing window to make sure that all of the items are performing and that we don't have any problems with any items.
Okay, perfect. And then the last question, and I know, Amanda, that you had touched on this, but I just wanted to ask this, but if you could just reiterate, how many times a year Looks like she stepped away. So, as Amanda had said, and I just wanted to reiterate this since several people had asked it, but we currently operate under 4 testing windows throughout the year. We just wrapped up one that ended in November, but we usually have them in the months of February, May, August, and October/November. So plenty of opportunities for you to schedule your exam throughout the year at a time that's convenient, as well as location that's convenient for you as well, since we have over 5,000 testing locations. So we only have just a few more minutes left, and I want to be respectful of people's time. So I just wanted to just have everybody just give any final remarks that they wanted to say, any closing remarks about the program before we sign off. Why don't we start with Yvette, if there's anything that you wanted to just close with real quickly about the program.
Yeah, well, first I want to thank everybody for sticking out with us for an hour and hanging out, learning more about the program. I would encourage them to come to the website and reach out to us and learn more about the certification, the exam, and how can you all get to this level of achievement that we've been fortunate to have. I would say don't be scared. You have the knowledge and the experience, particularly the experience based on the time that you've been in the industry, and just encourage you all to commit yourselves to continue to develop yourselves and get your CFS.
Julie, let's turn to you.
Sure. So I would just second some of the things Yvette had said earlier. Just it's about continuing to learn, and don't be scared. And I encourage fellow peers and colleagues to go and try it out, even if you haven't ever taken a test on a computer in your life. It's very rewarding, and I'm excited to put some new goals in my plan for continue to learn. So I encourage people to go for it.
Great. And then Erica.
Yeah, I think I'll just reiterate what everybody else said already. Also, thank you to everybody who hung around for the hour to learn about the program. I hope you learned a lot. And I just wanted to reiterate again how great the program is, and I think there's a lot of benefit into pursuing it, and especially the lifelong learning aspect of it. I think that for me, that's a great part of it, and I look forward to continuing to learn. And just don't be afraid of it. Just study, and you'll be great. And good luck.
Okay, great. Well, I really wanted to thank all of our panelists today. I appreciate everything that you said. You provided a lot of great insight and a lot of good information for everyone. I think everybody would find that helpful, especially as they're learning more about the program and making some steps to becoming a certified food scientist. So thank you very much. We really appreciate that. Appreciate your time and insight on that. Also, just wanted to thank our viewers. Thanks for your interest in the CFS program. Hopefully you found the information you're looking for. I would strongly encourage everybody to find out even more by visiting ift.org/certification. We have a wealth of additional information that you can find there as well. You can also email us at ifscc@ift.org, and we would be more than happy to answer any questions you have about the program or walk you through any of the eligibility requirements or anything else that you have related to the program. So once again, thank you. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you all.